Hello, and a huge welcome back to the BioNexus Health podcast series. Please do remember to hit the red subscribe button on the right of your screen to support our efforts. Thank you. Today, we have East meets West, literally and figuratively, if I might say so. It's gonna be a multiple chronic illness recovery discussion panel with native New Yorker Tarek. Tarek did a podcast of his personal journey and recovery with us, and I shall link to that podcast in the comments, not in the comments, I mean in the description box, but it's going to be with native New Yorker Tarek, a dynamic businessman, husband and a father, and we have California girl Heather, a tower of strength mom and wife, steering her entire family to newfound health and wellness. Both live in the midst of the best of healthcare and modern medicine in the world, as is evident. However, both found the root causes of their myriad of chronic symptoms and started healing with plant-based herbal medicine and a holistic approach to wellness. Let's welcome them, Tarek and Heather, to today's podcast.
Welcome to the BioNexus Health podcast with Dr. Jodie Dashore, who holds a Ph.D. in Integrative Medicine, is board certified in Integrative Pediatrics, an internationally recognized pioneering clinician, and author. And now here's your host of BioNexus Health podcast, Dr. Jodie Dashore.
Hey, Heather. Hey, Tarek. Welcome to today's podcast.
Nice to see you both. Thank you.
You guys as well. Oh, you're welcome. You know, this was an excellent request from Heather, as well as, excellent idea to have this mini panel. I think it will help many people, especially, asking each other relevant questions, health-related questions, especially when it comes to herbal medicine.
Right.
I can't tell you, I'm really happy to be here. When you're with a group that actually gets it, and you're with family, you're with friends, they just don't really understand what you're going through. They don't really, get what it's like, what your day-to-day life is like. And even though they're listening, but they just can't get the reality that you're facing. So to be able to share that is actually great.
I love it too. I listen to a lot of your podcasts, Dr. Dashore, which are so wonderful. And I'm always scanning through the ones that I feel I'll relate to the most. And this one I saw on a hike. I live in LA, and I was hiking up in the hills, and it was one of those kind of rough weeks where I'd been dragging a lot. And I heard it, and I literally sat down on a hill and kind of got a little misty-eyed because I felt like, it can be a little bit of a lonely journey sometimes, like you said, and you have the dips in the road, and you feel like you're going rah with the faith that everything's going to work. And then you hit a week like that, and it's nice to hear that you're not flying solo on that magic carpet ride, if it were. And so the podcast really helped me, because I related a lot to the fatigue, especially, and the mood, some of the mood stuff, and anyway.
Don't forget sleep.
What's that?
Don't forget sleep.
Right. Yes. There's that fun part too. Yeah.
Or lack of.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Or lack of, that's true. That's true. It's for us moms and dads, of course. It's, when you have children, you lose sleep, I don't know, for years, until things are stable. Then if you have special needs kids, then you lose sleep, for a few more years. I don't think I slept through the night until Brian was 9 years old, when he slept through the night for the first time. So that was that. And then I got hit with the mold and the Lyme. And I remember, just like you guys, there was a really low point where I would wake up and I would need, this big cup of black coffee. I mean, my whole life, I've never, ever had any kind of stimulants just to be able to help my child. I mean, it was a lot of care with the wheelchair and the school issues and all of that. So yeah, and I remember my 7-8 year journey to health, which kind of mirrored my child's journey to health. So it was, this blessing of illness, the gift of illness, which helped me heal myself. And, it's been an overall blessing that now in, what is it now, 78 countries, that, people with chronic illness are understanding that it's important to look at root causes, and that all natural herbal medicine can help. You don't have to antibiotic or steroid yourself for years. There are natural solutions, just like Tarek healed, I've healed. Heather, I think you and your family are, slowly making your way to good health.
Yeah. It's so interesting because, speaking of antibiotics, I can't really take them because in the past, I didn't know what was wrong with me, but when I would take them, I would have these massive reactions, and I probably die off, as you, I think, have mentioned before, but it would just be devastating for months, like gastritis and anxiety attacks just from one round of antibiotics, probably because I had all this other stuff that I didn't know about for a long time.
What I never actually got is how complicated of an illness this really was. And to me, it was two things that actually got me to just be all in right and very quickly. I read the Biotoxin pathway, and that was the most accurate depiction of what was going on inside of me for years, that I could tell doctor after doctor and no one would really quite understand, and nobody could even relate to. And, they check certain blood tests, they seem to be okay. I'm not feeling well, and I went through some candida treatment for a while, thinking that was the root cause of it. That was just a side symptom. When I listened to Dr. Dashore, I did listen to Dr. Dashore before I actually made that call. I really was inspired by the story, and I could tell you, I have a great deal of respect for someone who can take one of the worst things that's ever happened to them and turn them into one of the best things that's ever happened to them. And it takes a certain kind of person to be able to pull through something like that, despite every negative impulse that's going through your mind that it's not going to work. You just have to face a new reality. This is how it's going to look like. Nothing works. I've tried this, I've tried that. And you just start to surrender to, your new normal. And I really wasn't accepting of that. I wasn't like, this can't happen. I have too much going on. I have a family. I can't just continue to go on that path. And the part that I think it's difficult to relate, except when you're talking to someone like that, is what you actually go through when you're going through this. I mean, in the medical report, it talks about fatigue, it talks about this and that, but really what really is going on is you're not engaged with your family. Your family looks at you like you're not interested in their day-to-day activities, which really couldn't be further from the truth. You're dragging yourself day after day. You're really kind of like not interested in a lot of things you used to be interested in. And you just can't see an end in sight to this. And I think once I got to understanding that this is going, and Dr. Dashore made that clear in the very beginning, is like, you have to be patient with this, this has gone over a period of time, and you want to chisel away at it. You don't want to take it all out at once, because if you do, your kidney, your liver, your body may not be able to process it so quickly. So be patient. And I never forgot that, because I'm the most impatient person you'll ever meet in your life. I mean, I want results yesterday. I want it now, and I want it quickly. And if it takes too much time, I just shut it off and I say next. but it made sense. It really made sense. And for her to get through to me that way, not a lot of people can get through to me that way. I actually listened, and it did make sense. This has been going on for some time, and it's going to take time for it to work its way out. And even if I had it my way and I had it out quicker than I would like it to, I think the collateral damage would be very unpleasant.
Right.
So I took the time to have faith in it. And, for week after week, month after month, I wasn't getting as well as fast as I wanted to, but I could definitely feel something going on that didn't happen before. I mean, I had no mucus in my nasal cavity for years, none. I mean, zero. I've never understood what was going on. Taking supplement after supplement, nose spray after whatever. It just ticks up and goes right down to where it was. And I went to the best ENT doctors. They couldn't figure it out. And to me, to this day, I don't really understand how an ENT doctor doesn't know how to test for what Dr. Dashore tests for. It blows my mind that they don't have that information. It really does. I mean, they have all this education behind them, and they just don't know anything about this. They have zero information about that. And the proof is she got the results where they didn't even know what was going on. So, right now I could tell you, huge improvement in my nasal cavity. I mean, I could breathe through my nose where I, could barely even inhale through my nose.
And Eric, was this from mold exposure, like long-term mold exposure?
Yes, it was hidden. I had an incident in my master bathroom shower where, I had the, those soap, not dishes, the ones, the enclaves that go in your wall. And they weren't constructed right, and they were slowly leaking through.
Okay.
And it wasn't even visible. And I thought I had it fixed on one end of the wall, but apparently it was the rest of it also that had issues. And over time, I didn't even feel it. It's in my bedroom. So over time, it wasn't visible.
Right.
Over time, it kind of like it was very, very slow. And when I watched Dr. Dashore's podcast, I felt, this has to be something more to it, because I knew I fixed it, but I didn't really want to kind of go all the way. It was almost like a $30,000 repair job that I didn't want to do. That I ended up doing, Right. But it was I fixed one side of the wall, but the other side didn't look like it was too bad, so I kind of left it alone. So I finally got around to it, gutted the whole thing, just gutted it and redid the whole thing, and sure enough, there was mold in there. I had it tested first, and then they said, yes, you certainly have mold. You can't see it, but we just tested it, and we can see it. You have to treat it right away. So I didn't waste any time.
So Tarek, I'm sorry. Go on. Okay. I just wanted to ask Tarek, did you ever receive the diagnoses of chronic inflammatory response syndrome, mold illness,
No.
Lyme disease, co-infections before? No, it was.
I did not. I did not. And I specifically asked the doctors if I would have been exposed to something like that, because like I said, I had a little bit of suspicion because I treated one area, but not the rest of it. So I did those tests that they do inside, the mold tests inside the bedroom, and they were negative. And I said, well, if it's negative, I have nothing to worry about. The only thing that got me thinking this has to be mold was reading the biotoxin pathway. When I read that, I said, there is no way in the world this can't be, because this is exactly what's going on with me. Symptom by symptom at that in that sequence. And also I was very comforted by the fact that all this is not hypothetical. It's actually based on scientific testing. There is blood work. You do see what's going on. You do measure things. So it's not like a holistic medicine. Well, we think we know what's wrong with you, but let's try this and see how it works out. And then you actually get to measure your improvements over time, and you get to compare test results before and after. So that to me also was something very favorable, because that's the only way to know whether you're making progress, whether you're actually your body's resetting itself. Because I've been through some programs where you feel better and then feel worse, and it doesn't really last. knowing what the root problem is. I've always been about knowing what the root problem is, but the problem is I just never knew what the root problem was.
Yeah.
I really thought it was a candida issue all this time. And I was going through a lot of stress on the family side, on the distant family side, not my immediate family. And I really attributed much of it to that.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of put it away and I said, it's got to be stress causing this to happen in my system. And if I can just figure out a way to manage that stress or solve some of these problems, this will kind of go away on itself. And I thought it was more mental than physical. It was actually very, very physical.
Right.
You know, the mental just made it worse and probably contributed to my immune system not being, you know, not working as best as it should work. But it absolutely was physical. It was exposure. There's no question about it. The evidence is there, and the treatment works. 100% works. There's no question about it. It just works exactly the way Dr. Dashore says it works. It works by doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, and giving it time to work, and knowing that it's a process, and knowing that you shouldn't really expect magic on day one or week one, but you will start to see an improvement that you'll feel very happy about, which is exactly how I feel.
How long did you live in this moldy environment before you figured it out?
It was years. It really was years.
Yeah.
You know, I could tell you, the creepy thing is it was very, very invisible. It was very, very slow and very, very invisible. You couldn't see it.
Yeah,
You really couldn't see it. It was between a marble wall, which is what the shower was, marble, right?
Yeah.
And sheetrock, but it went all the way down to the bottom, so it didn't even touch the sheetrock.
But it was behind, right? Heather, you had a similar situation, right, with your place?
Yeah, ours was everywhere. It's 100-year-old Spanish house, you know, the classic LA looking house. And it had been, over the years, landscaping had been built 4 feet up the stucco walls without us knowing. And, you know, so it was leaching into the walls that way. There'd been a leak in the laundry room that kind of took hold with the mold all around the laundry room and the walls. There was a roof issue that had come down into my son's bedroom, who had, he had terrible colic when he was born. I mean, like the nurses didn't know, they'd never seen anything like it for months. He just was screaming, and he was living in the epicenter of it. And then there were the whole north side of the face, the pipes had, you know, made holes after a while. And so it was corrugated iron dripping. It was, so we've been restoring it for about a year plus. It's still going. So it was just a lot of different issues in different areas.
So all of this was invisible.
Everything. And
right? But all of this was going on.
Yeah, and I never smelled it. Never. The only way I knew, it was similar to you. I thought it was my stomach, and I finally saw a GI doctor, and there was something wrong with my stomach. But he said when I see somebody's stomach to this degree of problems, I test for mycotoxins. And luckily, I saw this. You know, this guy thought to do that, and he said I was sky high in mycotoxins. My kids were, and he said, "Have you ever had mold in your house?" And I said, "No," but I checked, and oh boy, the games began. It was just like a wow after that day. So I know what you're saying about the invisible lurker in the walls.
It sure is. You know, many of my patients around the world, it's very hard to understand when you don't see something. So I'm glad, you know, that we are discussing this. You know, another culprit which was really high for my son was carpeting, old carpeting in his preschool. You know, and in preschool in the afternoon here in the US, as you guys know, they really encourage naps in the afternoon. And this preschool would really encourage naps right on the carpet. You know, they would put no cots, no nothing. Depends on the preschool. But, you know, luckily I used to pick him up like around 1 o'clock. So that wasn't, but there were so many other kids, the building was old. And this, I mean, it's a preschool, so I'm sure that they had juice spills and water spilling, pee accidents and what have you, with so many little kids. And most of the carpeting is steam cleaned. And what I've learned later is that steam cleaning only pushes the problem deeper, right? Right into the padding of the carpet, which gets wet, and the mold in the carpet never really leaves its hold. So that's yeah, so that only compounds the issue, especially if there is underlying Lyme disease and comorbids as well.
Right.
Now, right? So now, Tarek, can you tell us if you had Lyme disease, and what co-infections did you have?
Yes, I did. And I mean, okay, so my biggest complaint really was, well, fatigue. Other than lack of sleep, which was really dragging the energy out of me. But the macrons, the marcons. I can't. Yes. Marcons.
Yes. Wait. So for those listening, right, marcons is an acronym. It's multiple antibiotic resistant coagulase negative staph that colonizes the deep sinus cavities of people that have been exposed to mold. There are various research-based and scientific reasons for that, but in a nutshell, that's what it is.
Yes, and it's absolutely one of the worst things that can happen to you. I mean, because it just doesn't go away. I mean, when I tell you it doesn't go away, it doesn't go away. I mean, I tried everything. I don't know if you've had any experience with that, Heather. Have you had any?
It's interesting when you were saying the ENT doctors couldn't figure it out, because I had an ENT doctor say, I told them I tested positive for marcons, and he literally waved his hand like that and said, don't believe that baloney. Everybody tests positive for marcons. We tested our whole office. Everybody had a little bit. It's like saying no. So yeah, it was very dismissive about the whole thing, but luckily I had Dr. Dashore at the time.
Yeah. And once you understand exactly what's occurring with this, and how these things are just shielding themselves off of any type of snow spray, anything at all, they're pretty much resistant to everything. And I had like saline solution spray that felt good for a few seconds, and then right after that I felt worse. It's almost like it reinvents itself every time it encounters a new agent, and then it becomes stronger and more resistive to whatever it is that you introduce it to. So I knew there was something wrong there, because nothing seems to actually be lasting, or it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And coincidentally, I was working with a doctor, the Candida doctor, and he was like, well, there's this test that came out. It's like the marcon test. And you should get one of those to get tested. So I did. And then I got it back. It was positive. It was actually really bad. And then I started looking into it. And slowly and surely I found, first I found Dr. Shoemaker, and then I found Dr. Dashore, and I found her nose spray and said, you know what, I think I need one of those. It sounds like exactly it is what I need. And that's how I got into this discovery process.
So wait, you, I had forgotten this part, Tarek. You actually found my Formula 1 NSB nose spray for marcons before you met me.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did. And it was a test that I did with a previous doctor, a Candida doctor, who said this just came out. You should get tested. But he didn't even have a solution for that. He had this other type of colloidal spray, which I tried before, and it really didn't do much. But when I saw the test results, I started researching into it. That's when I saw the biotoxin pathway. That's when I read about that, and that's when I saw your name, and that's when I saw that solution. And I said, I got to get on this, because at that point it was unbearable. I mean, I don't know how it was like with you, Heather, but I had it pretty bad, really, really bad.
In what
Um,
sense did you feel like it was marcons directly affecting you?
Loss of smell was a big one.
Okay.
And no mucus at all,
I mean,
0.
that's crazy.
Yeah, can't even blow your nose. And it just felt weird, you know. It feels like, you know, you can't blow your nose. There's no mucus. There's no, you know, if I like blocked one nostril, I couldn't breathe in through the other nostril. It was blocked. And if I did
Right.
that, I couldn't breathe through the other nostril. And I had it pretty bad. I really I had no idea, you know. I mean, it wasn't all over the place. My problem wasn't the whole house. It was a specific area that was in my bedroom.
Yeah.
So I would sleep through the night breathing this,
Right.
and I wouldn't even, I didn't even know it was a problem, because they did get a mold test kit by a professional mold company, and they said, you have nothing to worry about. There's nothing there. Because had I known that earlier, I would have actually gutted the whole bathroom and spent all that money and just be done. But, you know, even the tests that they offer today are completely, entirely useless, which I think a lot of people need to understand that. They really do. Because that's a very false sense of security that you might get, that, that Home Depot test came out. And it wasn't even a Home Depot test. It was a professional mold company that came in to test it.
Right.
And it was negative, but I had to test it twice.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Heather.
I had to go down a whole road with the right kind of mold inspectors too. And luckily, it sounds like we're very similar. We dive into the rabbit hole of research. And I had a feeling it was like doctors, that they weren't all created equal, and that you needed a specialty person to hit it in a certain way. And luckily, I found an angel. She's actually a woman who had gone through health issues with her son when she was pregnant in a moldy house. And so she was not going to take, you know, the easy route with this, and she just led the way with a whole specialized way of testing. And I had people tell me that she was crazy and she was wrong, and she was right on every single wall that she tested. We had to rip the whole wall out, and it was filled with mold. So yeah, I know it's it's a very broken system in a lot of ways, from doctors like my ENT saying it was silly, marcons is silly, or people not putting the dots together. It's really something that is a shame. I mean, I think a lot of people are very confused about what's going on with their health, and you're right, having an answer is like the beginning of the trail forward, and it's so huge to have that knowledge.
And I think what's tricky about this whole thing is that, you know, as I read more about it, the whole population isn't really susceptible to this type of illness. It's an unfortunate percentage. I think, what is it, 25%, 24%?
Yes,
Right.
You know, and I think that's why.
27%.
Yeah, and I think that's where the misinformation comes from, and I think the confusion, there lies a confusion, because you'll have someone that says, "Oh, I know this guy's been living in mold for years and nothing's happened to him," so they dismiss all that as being irrelevant. It's all in your head, or made up to make money or whatever, you know. And then, but wait a minute, what about the 25% that are shot, like myself?
Right. Yes,
You know,
yes,
what happens to them? You know, it's like you know. I think that's a part that the public needs to be very educated about, because as they come and seek help, they've probably spoken to either, you know, with me it was a contractor. The contractor said, "Don't worry about it. That's nothing," you know, or even some medical professionals that kind of never heard of it. And even if, oh yeah, I know people with that all the time, it's overblown or overstated, you know, but I think the biggest piece of the puzzle here is understanding that if you lie within that group, and you're not able to process this, it could be some serious collateral damage to your system. Over time, this could be very, very bad. It could be debilitating. So people need to take this very seriously. This is not a you know, I'll get to it if I can, or you know, it has to be a priority for people who suffer from this. You know, they have to understand what's going on. They have to understand that you know, your biology may be different, your physiology may be different from the next guy. So So if you come across somebody that dismisses this, keep going, keep looking for answers, and make sure that you get treated right, because it's no laughing matter.
Yeah,
Yes.
I had a contractor tell my husband at the beginning of all this. He said, "Yeah, my wife would be freaking out about this too." You know, just like it was the little woman's kind of thing.
Right.
Luckily, my husband doesn't. That's not how he is. So this did not. Those words did not land. But there were so many naysayers and so many people dismissing it. And I agree with what you're saying about it being so critical. We have this lovely cabinet maker helping us put together the destroyed parts of our house, and he is so sick he himself can't breathe right now. He wheezes and has to sit down, and he said he's seen so many people about what's wrong with him and nobody can figure it out, no doctors. And I said, and then he was talking about brain fog. He said he walked across the room and picked up the wrong thing and brought it back. And when he said that, I said, Larry, have you checked for mold? And he said, oh, my shop is full of mold. And I said, Larry, like you got.
So wait, yeah. So wait, so if his shop is full of mold, is he bringing it in?
Well, he has not installed anything because he's been so sick. He actually hasn't been able to do the work.
Oh, the poor guy.
I know.
You know, it's just, you know, what I wanted to say was air testing.
Yeah.
You know, like the Home Depot kit that Tarek mentioned. That's great for those who are not in that 25 to 27% of genetically susceptible people like us to mycotoxins, because genetic susceptibility doesn't end with you know, looking at live spores, which is what the air testing does. You know, people like us will react to pieces of mold, you know, pieces of the stem, pieces of the hyphae, as it is called, because it is a mycelium, right? It's a mycotoxins. So all of that has to be taken into consideration. That is why the ERMI or the Hertzsmead testing makes more sense, because you are actually testing the entire spectrum of mold when you collect dust samples. So, you know, that's one. And second is what many people fail to understand. I mean, it's been established by, I don't know, 30, 40 peer-reviewed journal published research papers that mycotoxins cause brain damage in multiple nuclei in the gray matter. In fact, the founder of the Breceden protocol for Alzheimer's works very closely with the mold certified, Shoemaker certified practitioners, you know, investigating and helping his patients with Alzheimer's. I mean, Alzheimer's, cancer, Parkinson's, right? Senile dementia, all of this has been associated with chronic inflammation. So that is something, you know, and also with the marcons, they secrete two toxins, and these exotoxins, they cross the blood-brain barrier and cause damage in the brain, inflammation in the brain. Hence, you see, you know, people with symptoms like brain fog, and it is dismissed for, you know, okay, it's stress, or it could just be a simple, you know, headache or migraine or sinus infection, or, you know, it's chronic fatigue. Like Tarek mentioned, candida treatment. I've had, including myself, many patients who visit whatever the latest research, you know, flavor of the month is. Okay, so this is candida. I'm going to treat myself for candida. I'm going to treat myself for heavy metals. I'm going to do something with my gut. But it's important to piece it all together,
right?
Yeah, you know, and treat in the right order. That's the key. I mean, you know, I've had people who've treated their gut or candida or heavy metals or brain fog, you know, for many months, sometimes many years, even Lyme disease. That's why I asked you about Lyme, Tarek, was because, you know, they've treated for many years And they keep relapsing simply because they haven't addressed the underlying inflammation, environmental toxins, and they haven't treated in the right order. So many of these have to be revisited while treating.
And
Yeah.
Tarek, you said you do have Lyme, or you've had Lyme and Bartonella and co-infection?
Yeah, I wasn't even aware that I had it. I really was not, but I could tell you, I had this really weird pain in my shoulders that, they took me to physical therapy, and then, it got a little bit better. And Dr. Dashore gave me a formula that actually helped it quite a bit. And there was a change in my diet also that I did. I cut down drastically on carbs, and that improved it. So yeah, I mean, I live in a wooded area in New Jersey. I have like an acre of backyard, that's all wooded. And I have a gazebo in the center of that wooded area that I used to, enjoy to go around every now and then. So that probably had something to do with it, I'm not going there anymore, I can tell you that. So, yeah, so that just added to the complications of it all. But yes, I'm listening to this, I'm really startled as to, yes, this is exactly what's going on. I mean, I was always very sharp, very quick, and then when I started feeling that way, again, the brain fog came in, and again, I always attributed it to stress. Everything, because there was some stress going on in my family's life, not my immediate family, but there's some issues there, and I thought it was probably that. So yeah, I mean, it took time for me to really get away from that. The biggest complaint that I had was sleep, lack of sleep. I would wake up 3 or 4 times in the middle of the night, very, very thirsty. I thought I was diabetic. I wasn't diabetic, even though my sugar level was a little bit higher than I would than it should be. And I don't eat any sugar at all. No soda. I watch my diet. I eat very, very healthy, despite my best efforts to stay healthy. None of that really was making me feel any better. I've been on the treatment about a year now, and I could tell you it's a big difference. No question about it. Big difference. But I think it was one of the worst cases. If I had to take my guess, I'm sure Dr. Dashore has seen quite a few, but I would rank one of the top of the list there.
Yes, you would. Yes, Tarek, it's such a pleasure to see you, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, so to speak, now, because I remember when I first saw you, very emotional. You were, clearly very upset with the way your life was going and where you thought it was headed as well.
Yeah.
And now, clean environment, you're feeling much better, you're breathing, you're sleeping, you're healthy.
Oh, that's another point that I wanted to add, actually. I was kind of processing this in my head. I wanted to bring that up. And one of the most important things that Dr. Dashore talks about is the necessity to have a clean environment. And I could tell you that none of the doctors that I've spoken to, and some of them were really, really bright and very good at what they do. And it amazed me that they miss this. It's like, you can be on the best XYZ treatment that you could possibly imagine, but if you're continually ingesting something that is causing this issue, this problem with you, don't be confused at the fact that your patient's not getting better. And they don't bring that up at all. I mean, maybe yours did, Heather. Maybe yours actually did. Was a little bit more cognizant of that. But none of my physicians actually said check this or check that. Or one of them said that it's the air that we breathe. He made a very general statement. There's pollution in the air, but it didn't really attribute it to mold or biotoxins or anything. And unless you have that handled, I mean, I have those air purifiers, the Austin air purifiers I got from, that was recommended by Dr. Dashore. And yes, they absolutely make a difference. Absolutely make a difference. I mean, I use them all the time. And my son actually moved to a dorm, and I actually unplugged the one that I use myself, and I gave it to him because I know how bad mold could be in a dorm.
Right.
So I'm going to get another one, but I use it in my office as well at work. And I think that's very critical because in this condition, I think I'm more susceptible than the average person to any other allergens or, even if there are very small traces of mold in the environment, that has to be handled. You can't just dismiss that and say, well, I gutted the house, which I did. I gutted the whole, the whole shower, the whole walls, everything.
Yeah.
Place was really on the beans, and I got these the mold remediation company that really did a good job in making sure that they removed every little trace of it. But again, you don't know what's out there. I'm sure there are tiny traces of it everywhere. You can't completely eradicate it 100%.
Right.
So that's very critical. Making sure that you have the right air purifier, very critical. Making sure that when you sleep at night, you're sleeping with a good air purifier that completely filters out your air. In the condition that I'm in right now, I think that's critical.
Yeah.
Sure. Yes. There is another thing that you mentioned, Tarek, is for the air quality. Actually, you didn't mention. I wanted to mention. Using essential oils is also very helpful, which is why came up with the 11 essential oil blend formula 2. What many remediators forget to do is the small particle wipe down. So I've found that after the best of remediations, the most expensive of remediations, if the small particle wipe down isn't done, then that also becomes problematic, because not all remnants of prior airborne mycotoxins and its bits and pieces are still left around. That's one. Second is the reason for the essential oil support, using a vaporizer, what is it called? Not vaporizer, diffuser for essential oils is important, because when you've been exposed to a water damaged building, that is conducive, it's known as the dirty 30. There are 30 volatile organic compounds, there are enzymes, chitinases, there are other microorganisms like actinomyces, streptomyces that grow in that water damaged environment. It makes them grow faster. And we are exposed to those. That's why, you always look at co-infections. You guys might remember the first series of labs, we looked at all kinds of co-infections. I explained to you why IgG high numbers are also very important, right? Quite opposite to what is known, that you only look at IgM. What if the patient cannot mount an IgM response? There are many research studies that talk about this. So understanding the immune system, empowering the patient, explaining about what's going on at the grassroots level with your immune system is the key. And overall, it's amazing that you can do a plant-based, all-natural herbal treatment for a few years, absolutely safely. It can be customized to you based on your labs. And I've been doing it now for, 7.5 years. Of course, I'm on a maintenance dose, but I just love it. I just love it. It's just keeps me going, and it feels, I don't know, internal cleanse and health and spiritual and strength. And I'm just really grateful to my herbs.
So these are things that you release onto your environment, or what are they exactly?
What is this?
You're talking about essential oils.
That's the formula 2 EOS. Yes, the essential oil support is 11 organic biodynamic essential oils that are multimicrobial.
Okay.
So diffusing, so diffusing them into your environment. So right now, we have children with special needs they are the ones who utilize this in their rooms when they sleep. But of course, it is applicable to all until we can get your immune system back on track. Both of you mentioned about, lifelong precautions, which people don't understand. And they think, it's all in our head, but no, that's absolutely true. Lifelong precautions will have to be maintained. I mean, not at an unreasonable level, right? Tarek, you can always, take precautions, use a good organic bug spray, wear long sleeves, long pants, and go enjoy your cigar in your gazebo. Not too many of them, but what happens is bringing your immune system back on track as much as possible is the key. So your immune system can identify, tag, target, and eliminate the toxins that you're exposed to. Now, we don't need immune boosting for that, right? All of us have been through COVID, and we have done really well. I'm the oldest of all of you, and I've had it 4 times, all different varieties of COVID, and we've done well with just herbals. But immune boosting should never come to mind to people like us. It's always immune modulation. So immune modulation is another word for immune regulation. That's what we need. We already have a great immune system that has been veered off track with infections and inflammation and mycotoxins. So, using boosting, even if it's herbal boosters, is not recommended, because remember, mold illness is friendly fire. It's auto-inflammatory. Okay, just like rheumatoid arthritis, etc. So any auto-inflammatory condition. Now, Lyme disease can cause autoimmunity. So both of these conditions, by way of acting on your innate and adaptive immune system, immune boosting is not the answer. You will further boost up an already boosted immune system.
And by immune boosting, like what's an example of what that would look like? How would you boost your immune system?
Okay, using herbals to boost your immunity is not recommended. Using vitamins is okay, because your body will naturally utilize the vitamins it needs, especially if you are, like, for example, right? If you take, one example would be like 5,000 milligrams or 5 grams of vitamin C a day. When you have a strong viral infection like COVID-19, that will get used up, right? Because it is actively helping to bring inflammation down. Whereas if you will use 5,000 milligrams of vitamin C daily, under normal circumstances, what happens? You just get diarrhea. Most people just get diarrhea. So it's just being wasted by the body, or not wasted, being eliminated by the body, right? So that would be one example. Vitamins are okay, minerals are okay, but immune boosting herbals, they have these really fancy heavy duty combinations of echinacea, elderberry, eyebright, so many immune boosting herbals that are all combined into one remedy sometimes, right? For marketing purposes, etc., without really understanding, right? That we are a niche population.
Got it.
And we need to be careful that we are not further boosting our immune system to produce even more antibodies than it already is, unwanted antibodies.
I didn't know that. That's really interesting. That's wild. Huh. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that are recommended in my early stages of this were actually non-optimum, like the CoQ10 ubiquinol. That's supposed to be like the greatest thing since sliced bread for immunity. That's actually made me worse.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I mean, to me anyway, that's my own personal, experience about it. But, I mean, Dr. Dashore said just stick to the program and don't get creative and don't add or, change anything. And, I mean, I kind of like, I get it. You always want to say, you always see something and you say, let me try that. That sounds like it would work for me, and then you take it and it's just like, what is that? And that was in my Candida treatment days when I experienced that. And the doctor at the time said, that's not good for you. It's true. When I stopped taking it, I actually started to feel better. It was making me feel worse. So it's a very fine line. It really, really is. I mean, it's a very fine line. You have to walk a very fine line. You have to do exactly what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, at the time you're supposed to do it, and the dosage you're supposed to do it. And if you deviate from that, don't expect to get the desired result. But I mean, I'm taking the anti-inflammatories. I'm taking a lot of these supplements, and I could tell you, it's not. It doesn't. I don't know how long you've been on the program, Heather. You've been on the program for.
It's been about 9 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I feel, well, I think I have some additional, like some hormonal stuff that needs to be figured out. And I got a test for very, very low cortisol and thyroid issues recently. So I think some of it's a bit mixed up in those problems, but I know it's going like this. It's not that, but it's going at a steady increase, and my mold levels dropped in half from my blood tests. So that was really exciting to see, some scientific evidence of that.
Yeah.
But there's a work in progress for sure.
Yeah.
But I
it
believe
is.
in it, and on a spirit level, I believe in it. And I also love that I haven't had any side effects, which I'm the fine print side effect queen on any medication. And with these, I haven't even had any herxing really. The charcoal is a little funny for me sometimes.
Yeah, me as well.
Yeah, it makes me depressed. I don't know. It's weird.
It makes me very thirsty.
My husband
makes me very thirsty, and I'm always going back and forth to the restroom. It's like, what's wrong with this guy?
Yeah. Oh, and it'll give me headaches sometimes. So that's a little tricky, that one. but the others are great. Yeah, that's funny.
Have you been on the nose spray?
I have. I suspect I might need to retest, and I think I have the kit, and I think I just remembered that I forgot to do the kit, and I need to retest. But I'm curious if it's not gone, because it's still like a little. I can hear it sounds inflamed when I breathe.
Yeah. Well, with me, I could tell you it was a very slow but very steady improvement, and it really was. I almost forgot how it feels like to have like air just go right through your nasal cavity and just kind of breathe easy.
Yeah, I'm not there.
But apparently that causes a lot of other complications with hormones and stuff. From what I've been reading, the MSH hormone gets off balance. And I mean, I don't know if you read the biotoxin pathway. You read about I would highly suggest or recommend that you actually read that. It's online. I mean, you just search for the biotoxin pathway, and you get to see exactly what's going on with you, and how these things kind of create these problems. So, as Dr. Dashore was mentioning, the MSH hormone gets.
Yes, the melanocyte stimulating hormone. Heather, I thought you had my book because
Oh, I did read your book. That the title? I forgot what the title was. I was actually just looking it up to see if that's the title. I read your whole book. I loved it.
So it's there, yeah. It's on. The book is on Amazon, but Tarek, in the book it explains in layman's terms, like step by step, the biotoxin pathway. All of the different stages. So you get to see what stage you are in as far as biotoxin illness goes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I read it about 9 months ago, so I need a refresher. I think it's probably back in my bookshelves over there.
Yeah, I have it back over there.
Yeah.
That one. But so how long have you haven't been out of mold that long, right? A few months now.
Well, I don't know, because we were in 4 different rentals last year.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure the last one had mold because the roof would leak when it rained, and I don't know that had been fixed in years. So that tells me I don't see how it couldn't be moldy, but we
Right.
moved out of there January 15th.
Okay.
And even so, my mold levels have gone down so much. So but yeah, you could be right that I could not be as far along as I think I am, just because of all the rentals we had to live in.
Correct. Yes. The biggest difference is, completely clean environment. And if you're not doing the diffuser, I thought you were doing that in the kids' bedrooms, not maybe not in yours, but it might be something additional to try, right?
Yeah,
To have it in your.
we have been a little inconsistently, so maybe I'll just ratchet up the consistency.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember very, very vividly when I first, before I even had my first contact with Dr. Dashore and I listened to her podcast, how important it was. It's like, okay, step one, get rid of all your moldy environment. And I think I actually did that, Dr. Dashore, before I had my first meeting with you. It took me 6 months to book a meeting with you. You're a busy person.
Sorry about that. I know.
That's okay. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. You're helping people all over the world, which is very admirable. But I remember, they said you could put me on the waiting list, but my schedule was a little messed up too, and I couldn't exactly pin that down. But I do remember listening to how important it was to just get the environment done. So I had all the remediation done before I had my first contact with you, just from listening to your podcast and your lectures. So I didn't even need like a consultation to figure that out. Because to me it was just by listening to you, it's like, this makes complete 100% sense. How could you possibly expect the cure to work if you're continually ingesting something that you're not supposed to ingest, and then go back to the doctor and say, hey doctor, I tried that, but it's not happening for me. Well, hey, hello. So I got that remediation done. I had to wait for a long time to get the remodeling done because of some parts were missing, but my bathroom was all down to the studs for about 3 months.
Right.
And they walk into your house like with these hazmat suits on. It's like, oh my God, yes. This really is serious. I mean, there's a reason they're all like dressed up in hazmat suits when they walk in. They treat that. This is very.
They do, yeah, because they don't want to get sick too, right? Yeah. So they're aware of what that. Because so you had to wait 6 months to see me. I know. It's 6 to 8 months now on the waiting list. I try to work, 7 days a week as much as I can.
Like, but, right now.
Yeah. So I hope it was worth the wait, Tarek.
100% worth it. I didn't even second guess it. I was like, okay. I said, if you want an early appointment, you just got to be prepared 24 hours. But my schedule is so messed up that I can't really even figure that 24 hours I'll be able to make that happen. But I'm so glad that I did. No regrets whatsoever.
Awesome.
It's been a blessing. It really has been, and just the fact that, I know so much more now that I have the means to look out for this. So my children don't have to go through the same hell that I went through if they're, have any genetic identity to myself. My son just moved into college, and that's another story I just want to mention. It's like, when you go through this and you're so detached from what's going on in your family for years, and you just kind of like, they look at you as a couch potato. It's like, what's this guy? He's not doing much. What's his deal? And my boy was younger back then. And he was like, Daddy, come on, let's go, let's do this, let's do that, and I'm kind of like, I don't have any energy. And I played a little bit of ball with him. And he was like once crying to his mother, my dad isn't doing anything with me. I'd like to go out with him. I'd like to do stuff. So I took him I got tickets to this Giants game years ago from work. The guy got these VIP tickets and said, you're available on Sunday. Sure. So I took him to this football game. And boy, was he the happiest kid in the world right?
Oh,
And
yeah,
this was like, the bonding time, with his dad, and how special it was. So make a long story short, this was so special for him because he didn't really get much attention from me. And now he's in the Rutgers football team.
oh, really? Oh, wow.
Wow, that's
That is
awesome.
awesome. I didn't
Yeah,
know
you
that.
could Google him, Samuel Hadidi.
Camel
Rutgers
Hadid.
football. Sammy, Sammy El
Uh-huh.
Hadidi.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
that's so
he's
cool.
he just got into Rutgers football, but it's kind of like this was such a pleasant experience for him just being with me. It kind of like inspired him, and from all the time that was missing.
Well, go Scarlet Knights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's
It's so wonderful.
awesome.
That's wonderful to hear. Tarek, it's a very emotional journey for all of us. Would you say, would you be able to talk a little bit about if you had any kind of mood issues
Oh my
and
God.
have those improved?
Oh, geez, I could talk about that. How much time do you have? Yeah. I mean, I'm really a very emotionally stable person. I'm not, I like to think of myself as emotionally intelligent. I don't really react. I used to be the coolest cat when it comes to the worst problems in the world. I mean, you couldn't really shake me too much. We went through the financial crisis. I'm in the finance business. I was totally unfazed. I went through a lot of like my parents' illness that I had to take care of, Alzheimer's and whatnot, and I had to take care of them. And I was very stable about it. This was a culprit that really gave me a run. I cannot tell you how it changed me, and it's things that you look back and say, what was I overreacting for? It's trivial stuff, um, it's just like I didn't like the person I was, It's just I look back at this is not me, So yes, of course, it's been one of the many items on the punch list that I had to handle. I mean, I couldn't understand what a culprit this whole thing was. I mean, it ruins you in so many different ways. I mean, you start with lack of sleep. When you have no sleep, you have no rest, you have no energy, you have no aspiration. You're just dragging yourself, and then you feel negative, and then you feel like nothing works, and then you feel like you can't enjoy anything. You just kind of want things to be over and done with.
Yeah. Can't wait for bed tonight, then you don't sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just not enjoying the moment.
Right.
You're not enjoying the experience, and you see people just out there experiencing life, and enjoying the day, and enjoying everything, and you just kind of want like, okay, I'm just going to hang out here until the day's over. I mean, it wasn't who I was.
Yeah.
But then the way your family sees you too, it's like you're just not there. Not there like for them, engaging in their day-to-day life. You're not. That's like they perceive it as a lack of interest. It's really not. You can't explain that to them. I tried, and they kind of understood, but they didn't get it.
Right. Yeah, it's such an isolating place to be, because and then you don't understand it on top of it, and you wonder if it's just depression.
Oh yeah. Oh, that comes too. That comes too. It's complex. It's very complicated, and I would have never thought that, if somebody would talk to me about mold exposure years ago, I would have thought of it as, well, okay, you're coughing, you're sneezing, what's the big deal? Take something and you feel better, or maybe, flush it off your system. But I had no idea the way it just kind of, it finds its way around you, and it's almost like a,
Yes.
it just takes over, takes over
Very
everything.
insidious. Yes.
Yeah.
Certainly, it's very insidious, and it's very ill understood. But I do feel that the awareness is growing. One very important thing that both of you mentioned is trying various treatments with excellent physicians, well known. I mean, Heather, you're in LA. Tarek, you're a New Yorker, so you have access to the best specialists, and you have been to the best, in the world. One thing that is important is customization. Most of us in the beginning are given these cookie cutter. Oh, well, you have a sinus thing, take this. You have a gut thing, take this. But it requires finesse and customization at every level, nutritional, anti-inflammatories, organ support, everything has to be customized dosage. Moving on to the next step, that is also customized. I don't have any patient which gets the exact same cookie cutter protocol.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that makes
well,
it
again, and also they just miss it entirely. I mean,
right.
With customization is usually when you know what's wrong with the person. I mean,
That's true.
they didn't even get to first base.
Yeah, and I have to say, even with functional medicine, I also think it needs to go a step further, because I saw functional medicine doctors that also didn't catch it, and it was also, and it got close, but I feel, for me at least, going to an absolute specialist like you, Dr. Dashore, and luckily I found you really at the beginning of my search for, I mean, I've told you, I feel like you kind of fell into my lap, like, thank you, because it had gone on for over a decade. I'd been feeling this way. And right at the beginning, right after my lovely GI guy found the mycotoxins, I was directed to you in my somehow, and that was when it all came together. And so I do think just an absolute specialist just in this, for me, has been the golden ticket as well, because you can get close, but not entirely, even with functional medicine, which I love. I big, huge believer, but this is something of its own. I think for me, that's been the case.
Yeah, I think again, what the reason they miss it all the time is they don't understand that the 25-27% of the population is very susceptible to this, and they dismiss it because, oh yeah, we've seen people with mold all the time and they're okay, and if it's over 50%, 75%, they just don't understand. But I mean, mine didn't even come close to guessing what it could be. At least yours gave you a hint. It could be mycotoxins, but mine didn't even say anything about that.
Yeah, no, he was. I adore this man. He was so amazing. But there was also, I think that the step that you took it further, Dr. Dashore, was the IgG, what you were talking about, and the Lyme, because I tested positive for some kind of Lyme antibody, but it was sort of a secondary conversation when I was having those early conversations with other doctors. It was, well, it looks like you used to have it, but it's probably not relevant anymore. But you were like, no, I think, and then there's probably also Babesia and Bartonella. So you carried the beginning, the seed of the information, which I was so lucky to be given. And you took me way down the trail, because as you know, I've now tested positive for everything, and it's been very eye-opening, because I think the Bartonella for me has been a very big problem that we didn't know about. I wouldn't have known about it. So I don't know. I feel very grateful for that.
Yeah, well, definitely gratitude is is in order here, Dr. Dashore.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean,
Oh, absolutely. You guys, it's been such a pleasure and a privilege being able to help the two of you. And, both of you bring so much strength, inspiration to my practice, to me as well, and it's, I don't know, I don't have words to express what I feel when I see you both now. Yeah, I mean, Tarek is much further along than Heather is, and Heather, with your entire family, it just feels wonderful. Heather, your mom is absolutely amazing. What a pillar of strength. I mean, I'm sure she's going to be doing really well once she, gets on the full protocol as well. So it's such a blessing to be able to help wonderful souls like you guys. So
Thank you so much, Doctor. We owe you more than we can pay you.
It's so
it's true. And again, for everybody out there that's listening who's not on this right now, who may be listening in the future, my message is just to be resilient and be patient.
Right.
And that was the advice that you gave me from day one, Dr. Dashore. And I appreciate that, because you kind of picked it up right away that here's a guy that just wants it done yesterday, which I did, because I needed it yesterday, but be patient, be, just know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that know that, it'll come in order, it'll come the way it's supposed to come. And that if you had it any other way, will actually be hurting you, not helping you. It become too much of a shock to your system to have to process all this at the same time. So the fact that it's been chiseling away, especially that nose spray that you have, it's been chiseling away one little bit at a time, and I can feel it. Chisel, just takes it one piece at a time. And I had no idea I was messed up as I was, until I kind of felt, wow, what a difference it's been from a year ago. I couldn't even blow my nose. I couldn't even sneeze. If I sneezed, nothing would come out. There's no air coming in, and now it's been using it every single day. I cheat. I actually use it 3 times a day instead of 2. And sometimes I put a few more. A few more sprays in each nostril. But it has definitely worked some remarkable stuff. And I can't thank you enough for turning what you've turned into, a personal experience with, going through this yourself, and with your son, and bringing this out to the world. It's incredible. It really is.
It's magical. It really is.
Thank you.
It's something beyond. It's really cool.
It's a higher spiritual platform for sure.
Thank you. Heather, I agree. It is from the beyond. It almost feels like, I channel the whole thing. It feels like my ancestors' blessings. My mom passed away in the middle of all of this with my son. So it just feels like, enormous blessings came my way, empowered me, educated me, because I had brain fog, you guys, just like you guys, because, recall, retention, assimilation of new knowledge, being able to put everything together. I used to read one page and then read a few other pages and go back to that original page. I mean, to actually understand, in spite of my medical background and everything. So it was a slow crawl back to health for both of us, for my son and I. And yeah, it's just been.
But it's amazing how you were able to turn the tables around. I mean, it's kind of like you took, and I tell you, some people are impressed by different things. Some people are impressed. When I was a kid, my parents were impressed by that honor student. That's all I heard about it. That honor student is the guy, right? And then as I got a little older in the professional world, it was the people with the big money. That's a person you're impressed with. Me, I was never impressed with that. I've always been impressed with a person who can take a situation that is completely debilitating and turn it around and turn it into the best thing that ever happened to them. That to me was always the rabbit in the hat that I've seen that in many different areas in life. And that to me was like, it floors me. It gives me an enormous amount of respect when I see anybody who can achieve anything like that. So hats off to you.
Well, and hats off to you, Tarek, because I see you doing that, right? And that was partly why I was drawn to your podcast with Dr. Dashore, because I'm a light seeker too. And something about your story, it really inspired me. So thank you for doing what you just said.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's true.
Awesome. Well, on that note, I think we should, I think we are out of time. So, so thank you, both of you, for a wonderfully lively, spirited discussion full of light.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time, both of you. Really appreciate it.
Very nice meeting you.
You too. Thank you. Sending you so many well wishes.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Well, that was an inspirational and very informative discussion, wasn't it? If any of the BioNexus patients listening, BioNexus clients listening, would like to have a mini panel discussion similar to Heather and Tarek, feel free, just let us know and we will arrange that for you. All right, very good. So, of course, it's that time again. We are at the end of today's episode. Thank you for joining me for this podcast, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, be well. Namaste.
Thank you for joining Master Herbalist Dr. Jodie Dashore, Director of the BioNexus Health Clinic and BioNexus Herbals, on the BioNexus Health Podcast, where we explore and share information and stories about recovering and healing from chronic and environmental illnesses such as mold biotoxin illness, Lyme disease, autism spectrum disorder, fatigue, Crohn's and colitis, mast cell activation syndrome, PANDAS, and more. Please help us grow our message by subscribing to our podcast channel and sharing the podcast on your social networks. For more information, visit bionexushealth.com.
Information within this video, audio, or text, collectively known as the podcast, has not been reviewed by the FDA. Nothing within the podcast is intended as or should be construed as medical advice. Information is for general informational and educational purposes only. Consumers of the podcast should consult with their healthcare practitioners for medical recommendations. Seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider. Do not disregard the advice of a healthcare provider based on any information from the podcast. The information within the podcast may contain information concerning dietary supplements or over-the-counter products that are not drugged. Our dietary supplement products are not intended for use as a means to cure, treat, prevent, diagnose, or mitigate any disease or other medical or abnormal condition.